Welcome back. I'm your host, Christine Renee, and today I'm joined with author and Reiki teacher, Cress over in Vancouver, BC. I'm really excited to have her on. She just published a book not too long ago on childhood autism, and we're bringing her on today specifically to talk about Reiki and autism. And I'm
Thank
excited
you.
for this conversation. So thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm
So
very excited.
I'm too, because I feel like more and more information is coming out on autism. It seems like it's much more of a prevalent
Yeah,
conversation that needs to be had. And I
yeah,
really believe that there's a change, there's a shift in tides happening when it comes to parenting and
yeah,
our children, and breaking the institutional structures by, we have all this neurodivergent children out there.
yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah,
So I'd love
yeah.
to get your take on this conversation, knowing that
Mm-hmm.
for our listeners out there, that Cress has been working on school boards and in the institutional, education system, and really I love hearing that she has been bringing wellness, mindfulness, and even meditation and Reiki to the schools. So I would
Mm-hmm.
love to know, like, one, let's start there. How did you get that to happen? Like, it's not often, like every once in a while I'll hear about mindfulness in the schools, but
Mm-hmm.
how did you bring that to a mindfulness or a meditation or a Reiki inside the institutional structure? Tell me a little bit how that happened before we dive in specifically on autism.
Yeah. I was working in Vancouver School Board, and also I did a couple of it was a wellness day I was volunteering at, and I was actually working as an EA in Vancouver School Board. And then they saw, what they commented. It was really funny. One day, I was working in this room, in the life skills room, and with some students who were like explosive behavior, right? And then, even though I have a lot of training to deal with that, it doesn't work, because basically what I found was that as soon as I came into the room, the behavior consultant said to me, "said I don't know what you're doing, but the students calming down just with your presence, and you're not even talking to them." And she pulled me inside. She said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Nothing." I said, "I'm just being me." And she said, what are you doing to them?" I said, "Well, I think that was like 2008 in the school, in Vancouver School." And I said that they're picking up on my energy. I'm a Reiki master teacher, and I can feel their energy. I can see their energy, and I don't need to talk to them because they're reacting to my energy, even though. And she said, "Wow, that's amazing," because they bring all these experienced people in, and what they're finding is that the students are reacting and getting exposed because of the person's behavior, the person's energy, right?
Yeah.
If you're not calm on yourself or not connected. And I really found a lot of those students too, when I was working in the Vancouver School Board, were like extremely unconditionally loving, and they were super sensitive to energy, like in the any changes in the environment. If the parents were feeling off, if the parents were upset, if the parents were angry, they'd pick up on it and react to it, right? And that's half the problem what's happening now.
Right. Well, I
Do you
think the
agree?
children are so incredibly sensitive. Like, I have
Yeah,
a highly
yeah,
sensitive
yeah,
10-year-old, and
yeah.
her anxiety is really high right now. And I'm like, Hannah, I think this is my fault. Because I, I think you're just picking up on my stuff, and then you're just taking it to a whole nother level. Are you just reflecting? Are you mirroring things that I need to work on? And I know this, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it's so interesting because it's true. And I think the more sensitive the child is, the more receptive they are to other
oh,
children, and the
yeah,
energy around them, and the institutional structure and the
yeah,
teachers and all of
yeah.
the things. And when you add it all up, you get their behavior.
Totally, totally. And what I realized too is that, you know, it's so touching sometimes, when, especially when I was in Vancouver School Board, this student came up to me, didn't even know me, and he was really violent. But he came up and he just, like a cat, was leaning against me and stroking me, and just It was like he was like he was literally purring, like because he was just like enjoying the energy and things, right? And so it's just like, wow, it's and he couldn't talk. He was nonverbal. So what I also found is a lot of the students who are like on the autism spectrum are very visual, and I communicate with them telepathically. And I still do, right? Because I went to this group in Vancouver one time, and this kid, he was in this healing group with me, and his mother goes, "Why is he smiling at you?" And I said, "I'm communicating with him." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm telepathically sending him a message." I mean,
Right. Yeah.
it doesn't work. The old ways of like the verbal communication for a lot of those guys is not working.
Yeah.
People, and that's half the problem with the behaviors. I've also worked with kiddies with severe behaviors, and this is all sort of tied into like that confusion of like they're picking up on people's energy, and then they're not able to express that it's not their frustration, their energy, it's somebody else they're reacting to, right? And
Right.
then they get labeled, and then it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, okay, you had everyone around you had this really clear observation that your
Hmm.
energy coming into the classroom and coming into the space of children was doing this huge, profound effect
Hmm.
on those spaces.
Hmm.
What brought you to the next step of introducing wellness, mindfulness, meditation, Reiki inside the classroom spaces?
Hmm.
How did that go?
So basically, when I was working in Vancouver School Board, they did a wellness day a couple of years, and because they knew me as an EA, an education assistant, I said I'd love to like offer my services, and it was just volunteer for a day. And then they were really they had to sign up and things, and I had like 30 kids. One of the special needs, like the or child on the autism spectrum. And then I just made it really playful. And I said, come on, let's all play with energy. And I just like I was just going with the flow, right? I had it like a guided thing I wanted to do, but sometimes, when you got 30 kids and things, it's just like, okay, like 5 of them are on the autism spectrum, 5 of them have something else, and it's just like, let's got to keep them like playful and make it fun. And their ages were like from 7 till 9 years old, and it was just amazing because I was sort of like getting them to make energy balls and feeling their own energy, and they said, "Oh, we can't do that," and the teacher said, "We never do that, doesn't exist." I said, "Let me show you." And
Yeah.
I said, "Come on, let's play." And they at the end, it was just like they were all in tears because they'd never felt energy before. Right. And it was just like I made this big, huge balloon, and I said, "Come on, let's play." And I found that, I mean, I'm playful the way I am anyway, because after you've been working with children, that's a way of connecting with them. I find too is like just come on, let's do this, and take them, and they really responded to that, and it was it was a real gift. I did that for a couple of years, when I go in and volunteer, and then another school board in Coquitlam asked me to do the same thing, and I'd volunteer there for a couple of times too, and I do like 30 students on the floor, 2 teachers, and then I go around and give them like a shukure in the hands and like start playing games with them, and it was just such a gift to be able to share that. And then when I was in Vancouver School Board, they trained me up in mindfulness, mind up, which is
Mhm.
for like working in the classrooms and doing so that was another way I incorporated it. I was just like, okay guys, close your eyes. It was the Goldie Hawn one, the minder. I met
Yeah.
her in Vancouver, and I took some of her courses with the school board. So I just saw it as like an excuse and a means of bringing in Reiki as well, because it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
And so Vancouver School Board, I sometimes lead some energy groups in the classroom when I'm doing the mindfulness breathing with them. And, it's like they even the students were like, oh, Cress is here. We could do those energy things. They'd really look forward to.
Yeah, so it sounds like you were really welcomed with open arms to bring
Yeah.
into the schools. Do you feel like there was a shift there over the last, I mean, you've been with the schools for a long time. Did you ever
25
meet?
over 25 years is it yeah, it is shifting a little bit in some ways, but when it mindfulness was okay, but when you took it to like meditation, they were like, oh, so it's just saying, but I could do that on the wellness day. But to actually bring, like now, people are getting more open to that and like, oh, mindfulness, meditation, energy. It's also the people are opening up and becoming aware. Like it's not, you can't separate them anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, it sounds like it's been much more receptive in the last few years, and
yeah,
you're not
yeah.
coming up against a lot of resistancy, because I mean, it sounds like you've kind of made a little bit of a name for yourself, and people, I mean, there was word of mouth. One school district wants you to be a special
Mm.
speaker, and like it's kind of getting out there. Just as a side note, if there's listeners who are already working in the school system in some capacity, do you have any recommendations or suggestions on how to bring forward more of this information? Like, it sounds like Mind Up was a big deal for Vancouver
Yeah,
school district, to come up with, this is an accepted thing. If I do this, then I can
yeah.
sprinkle in my own stuff.
Exactly, exactly. And even in Northland School Board, I was starting to do mindfulness then because some of the teachers did it, but it's actually good to be trained up in there and beyond because I'm on the floor with these students and things. So, like a couple of months last year, what was it, January or February, about a year ago, I was doing some like group mindfulness with the students and things, and would do breathing with that because like with the mindfulness you could do breathing, and when you're doing that, I like put the hands on the head and okay, put your hands on your tummy because this is where you're gonna hold, got a lot of anxiety in there. I do grounding exercises with them and things. It's getting more accepted.
Yes, I love
Yeah,
it. What
yeah.
do you find most affected with these neurodivergent kids or autistic kids, and specifically, like, is there certain things that you like to do with one set of group of kids versus another? Like, what do you find?
Hmm.
Like, I love the
Hmm.
story of like you're telepathic with them. You can see their energy shifting as you like start to work with them. Tell me more. I want to know the
Hmm.
stories.
So basically, I also work with crystals too. I love crystals, and I found that I haven't done it in the school board yet in Vancouver. I did. I sometimes when I was doing mindfulness with them, I'd bring in the crystals, and I'd charge them up with the Reiki and put all the symbols in, and it would just that there was a couple of times that in the classrooms where there was like 20 or 20 students, you'd had to teach and a couple of other EAs in there. And, I'd charge up the students, the stones with Reiki and then hand them out. And then would sit in a circle and pass the stones out and breathe. And it's just bringing in different ways they can use the five senses too, because it's all about the five senses. Let's feel it, let's see it, let's smell it, let's taste it,
Yes.
let's ground it. Because a lot of those guys are like so sensitive to the energy. Like when I was handing out the crystals, it's like even kiddies on the ADHD, and they were very aware and needed to be more grounded.
Hmm.
I found that a lot of the kiddies with ADHD and on the autism spectrum aren't as grounded, and they need to ground their energy, right? So
Yeah.
they can be here more in the body and,
Yes.
experience a different, yeah. Do you find that
Absolutely.
too?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I volunteer at a very small private Waldorf school,
Oh,
and they're
cool.
mostly from 7 to 9, 7 to 9
Mm-hmm.
age range, and we're doing the same thing. Doing crystal meditation circles, and doing the like chakra studies with movement. How does sacral chakra flow? Let's all pretend to be the sacral chakra energy, just making it playful. I think is huge.
Yeah.
We would,
Isn't it?
right, so we take the information and be like, how can I make this into a movement lesson versus a
Exactly.
lecture? And then let's go paint it. And so we'd run into another classroom and watercolor that chakra, and then run back and do another movement. And I agree. Like, I feel like a lot of the kids just needed so much grounding, and they were really open to, I mean, and these aren't necessarily neurodivergent kids. I mean, definitely
Mm-hmm.
some of them are, but they
Mm-hmm.
all just are really receptive to like that there's another way of thinking about it. So introducing concepts like animism, of like all inanimate objects have energy, they just
Yes.
eat it
Yeah.
up. They just
Yeah.
absorb it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. That's really awesome, hey?
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
it. So then you got this thing going in the Vancouver school districts and a few others, and then you
Mm-hmm.
decided to go off and write a book on childhood autism. Tell me the story between like you're in the classroom versus like, okay, now I'm writing a book.
I think that I've always loved like writing, and I've always sort of made notes about, stories and things that's happened over the years. And I just wanted to share the experiences of like what I was going through over the years with working with different students in Reiki classes and the school boards. Um, and when I've done other things with them, like the wellness days and things, I wanted to share what worked for me, like with the mindfulness. I also used a lot of mindfulness, and I've used crystals. I made all these like gains up, and different things worked, and I wanted to share what worked for me. Yeah.
So would this be a great book for people who are teaching Reiki kids classes, as well as like
Mm-hmm.
teachers and instructors who are working with
Mm-hmm.
the kids? Does it have kind of
Mm-hmm.
a bit of a manual feel to it? Like, here's a lesson plan almost? Like, is there that kind of aspect to it?
You know what? I think it's like my exploration of what I discovered over like the 25 years of their spiritual connection, and also like how these guys really do connect on the spiritual level and the energy level. It's like when I worked with either the most verbal or the most non-verbal student on the spectrum, it was like I was connecting. The energy connection is so important. Like it's vital. People are missing out on a deeper connection to these people because I see them as energy beings first, and connecting with them on that level, and then supporting them on the physical level as well. But it's just, yeah. And also what I talk about is like the experiences when I've taught Reiki to them and how they experience the energy. And it's like books on how to deal with anger and frustration and emotions, because it's all part of it, right? Being the neurodivergent for them, it's like they need the ways to be able to express themselves, to find, yeah. So that's what I was talking about in the book, is like the experience around them.
Yes. Share with me one of your favorite stories about working with an autistic individual. I'd
Mm-hmm.
love to know, like, what you've learned as a spiritual person working
Mm-hmm.
with this set of students.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So probably when was it, 2000? I was doing a lot of like working with autistic students, teaching Reiki to them, probably about 2010 to 12.
Yes.
And I haven't done much recently, but gosh, it was such a special gift to be able to connect with them on that level. Um, yeah, I mean, I want to write more of like a manual to the future about teaching Reiki for, Reiki teachers and things, especially for neurodivergent students and things as well. That's something that I want to explain more on. But yeah, in this class, it was beautiful because the parents were there too, and they were like probably in 7, 8, and 9 years old, and had the three parents sitting with them the whole day. And oh, it was just gorgeous because they were so tranquil, and they didn't talk much. These guys, they were nonverbal more. So they were very like sensitive to the energy, and I was starting to teach it, and I would go into meditation, and they wanted to ask to choose the music, and I said, oh, what music would you like? And they said, well, we want like harp music, and I'm like, oh, that's so cute. So I gave them like I involved them in the whole steps. Like I'm like, okay, what feels right for you guys? Because I was seeing their energy. I'm like, okay, I'm because that's a whole thing too. When you're working with them, it's like even in the school boards, I'm able to see how their energy changes and helping them to co-regulate them on an energy
Yes.
level, right? That's what my book's about too, is like the co-regulation, self-regulation through mindfulness and through things like that, through Reiki. So I could see that they needed to be involved more. So I'm just like, okay, you can choose the music. And then after that, we're going to do some meditation. And I'd show them like put the hands. I said, are you comfortable putting your hands there? I said, oh, yes, we want to put our hands on our head. And we talked about the chakras and things. And I gave them like crystals for each of the chakras too, so they can balance them. And oh, it was just such a beautiful experience being able to share Reiki with those guys, because it's like they were such a pure spiritual energy, right? And an unconditional love, very hard energy. And then wow, they were beautiful. It was just such a gift to be able to spend time with them. And then we went through the Reiki hand positions, and then we're working on each other. And oh, it took about 5 hours, and then we completed the Reiki level 1. And it was just such a blessing to be able to share the energy with them.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
If you had one message to give to autistic parents,
Mhm.
what would it be?
To connect with them on the energy level. Yeah. Not just on the physical, not on the, like to connect with them, meditate. I found that meditating with them and finding, what makes them happy is a real good way to connect with children on the autism spectrum. Finding things they love to do and the joys and things like that. Because, over the years, I found that some of they get very, what's the word? Obsessed with certain things. And I found that, some of the children on the autism spectrum get obsessed with animals, some with toys, some with, you know, grass, some with other things. So just find what they really love and connect with them on that level. And
Yeah.
I find that mindfulness is a really good way to do that. And also like making things really playful.
Yeah.
And when they don't feel, if they start to feel unsettled, I found that grounding them, helping to ground their energy into the center of the earth and the base of the spine, just to let go, because they get very anxious. A lot of the guys, yeah, have you seen that too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of, well, and I really feel like we have these autistic and other neurodivergent children that are coming through to kind of raise the vibration of
Yeah,
the world, right?
yeah,
And they're
yeah,
really high vibe children, and that serves us, planetarily, but on an individual basis, they're lacking that groundedness that, oh yeah, we're
totally.
actually inside a human suit. Right? Do I fit into my human suit? Like I can barely fit in my human suit. Like it's this feels a little claustrophobic in this body sometimes, right? So I can
Totally.
kind of relate to the children, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, it's like, how do we find that balance there? I wonder if you have any of your own philosophies of why this change now, or if you've noticed a difference in the autistic kids from 20 years ago to the ones more
Oh,
recently.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's
Yeah,
that
I
like?
have. I Yeah, I think there's a lot more autism, like children on the autism coming through right now, and there's a lot more students being like designated into school boards and things. And yeah, And it's, yeah, I've worked in classroom, like, and you've got 5 or 6 like or children on the autism spectrum, and then another 2 or 3 who haven't even been designated. So, it's like massive amounts of students. Children are coming through like really high vibration, and it's like, but the school, it seems that they need more stimulation, they on different levels, right? It's not meeting their needs right now. I mean, they need to have a more open curriculum. And like one of the schools I worked in Vancouver School Board was it was more Montessori. Um and in there they had so many neurodiverse students, because they could do things at their own pace, they can choose things, they could sit outside. I really like that thing of like being able to connect to nature and do it at your own pace, and being able to play music or work with nature and do things that makes your heart sing too. It's like, okay, you've got a certain set things to do, but you don't have to do them right now. And so, and it was very rewarding to be able to work in a school like that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I feel like because of the numbers of autistic kids, it's a bit of, let's break the institution. Like they're going to have to learn and adapt and expand and change from
Hmm.
our educational system that was very much based in the 1800s of factory
Yeah.
workers, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like they're not going to have a choice. Like soon neurodivergence is going to be the typical. Like
Exactly.
just give the world 20 years. Right? So
Yeah.
just come.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you could paint that picture of what that classroom would look like, feel like, what would that be for you? Something that would be okay for any of these children to move through. What would that be?
So basically, what I find too is like working with the 5 senses is so important. Like, I know myself, I'm probably ADHD, and it wasn't that diagnosed as a child, right? I mean, we all have something, but it's like I find that it'd be nice if you can have a classroom set up where you're working with the 5 senses. You've got things to touch, you've got things to feel, you've got the visual stuff. That's how I like to, like when I do the mindfulness with the students, I've got things that they can hold, maybe like a toy or a musical instrument and things like that. They got something they can keep them shaking, and then you got the visual stuff, you got the hearing stuff, you got pictures, beautiful pictures on the wall that aren't overstimulating for them, right? And then you can go outside in nature, and you got different things. Like, I think that we're all changing a lot, and the 5 senses is so important, like through the mindful 5 senses. And it's like we need to hear more, we need to see more, and have places where you can like meditate too, calming down places. I really find, like, one time when I was in Vancouver School Board, and we were doing like a group circle with the teacher, and then we had a calm down 10, which really helps.
Mhm.
And it's like we all sat in a circle, we're passing the stone around, taking a breath, and it's like, how are you feeling? Oh, the student was like, oh, I don't feel happy, and couldn't sit still. And he's like, it's okay. The teacher sent into the little tent, this tent where he could just sit down and have his own calming down time. It was just amazing. And so he could self-regulate. So ultimately, the whole part, the purpose of us being there is to help them to co-regulate, and however that is for them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I find with my own daughter, it's like those
Hmm.
5 senses really helps her, one, get in touch with her own body.
Yeah.
And then when you have that, then it's like they're already in tune with their sixth sense. They're
Yeah,
good there, right?
exactly. Exactly.
They're solid there. Like my daughter was astral traveling at age 4. Like I'm like, all right, let's get in your body and let's anchor there, and you're gonna be okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And so then
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
we can bring in those sensory pieces. It's almost like the
Yeah.
education is happening through osmosis. Like
Yes.
my
Yeah.
daughter, like I just read to her all the time, and the numbers are there. Like the education is around her, and it just kind of is, it feels like osmosis. Like, I'm like, I don't know exactly when you picked that up, but you did. So great, that works. Like, we've done a combination of homeschooling and private schooling and trying to figure out the flow. And I just feel really lucky, to be honest, like really honored to be able to be in a place in my life where I can be in the flow with her of going,
Yeah.
what works today, what
Yeah.
works this week, what works this month, what works this
Yeah.
year, versus you have to go to a public education system that is 9 to 5, or really 8 to 4, 5 days a week, and she's exhausted. Like right now
Yeah.
she's going Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because she needs those days
Nice.
off to kind of just
Yeah. No, that's
decompress.
great. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really great.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
I love it. And so tell us, if someone wanted to pick up your book, Childhood Autism, where would they find it? How would they get their hands
It's
on it?
on Amazon.
Perfect. Easy,
I
right?
self-published it on Amazon. It's under Cress. Yeah, I self-published it, and yeah, it was quite the journey. It took me quite a few years to finish it.
I bet. So when did
Yeah,
it get
thank you.
published? Wasn't it this last fall?
Was it a year ago? It's 2022, 21,
Somewhere in there.
December 2021, I think.
Yeah, beautiful. I love
Thank
it.
you.
And what has come of it? Have you experienced any shifts since the book was like now out in the world?
I haven't really put it out there much.
Well, this is a great way. We're going to
Yeah,
get it in the hands
exactly.
of some Reiki practitioners for sure.
Thank
I
you.
love that. I love that. Well, it sounds like you're doing such amazing work, not only with the school boards, but also directly with these kids. And I really do feel like owning your own energy, owning your truth, owning your purpose of this is why, one of the reasons why you're here in this human suit with all of the gifts that you have, is to share these stories and share your book. So
Thank
I'm
you.
going to give
Yeah.
you permission and excitement to go share that with the world, because this information needs to get in the hands of parents and teachers,
Yeah.
school board
I haven't
administrators.
I haven't done it like I've had, I'd like to get it out there more. And I contacted a local bookstore here in Vancouver called Banyan Books, which is like an alternative bookstore. So it just wasn't the time. Like, sometimes you do something, and I know other people who've written books didn't do anything for like a year or so, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, they
go.
stop.
Yeah. Well, I hope that this is the first
Thank
of
you
many
so much.
podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love it. Is there
Thank
anything
you.
else you'd like to share with our listeners? Do you have, if someone wanted to book a consultation or a session with you, how would they find you?
It's easiest to get me on my email, cress08@gmail.com.
All right. Say it one more time for us.
Yeah. Cress, CRESS 08@gmail.com.
Okay, beautiful. We'll also have that in the show notes, so our listeners can click the link, shoot you an email. We'll also have the Amazon link to the book, and feel free to contact Cress if you want to go deeper on this. But I just want to say thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Radio. You're so welcome. It was such a blessing to have you on.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I know that there are so many Reiki parents out there that are like needing this information. So
thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
I've had people asking about courses. A couple of people have been asking about like Reiki for autism, and also like online courses for autism around my book. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get round to that now. Once I've got that finished and I got it out there now. Yeah.
Yes, then it'll be available and you can start teaching it. I love it.
Yeah.
May
Thank
2023 be the year that it all comes to fruition.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And thank you to all of the listeners out there. Be sure to like, subscribe, share to get this beautiful information out into the world. And thank you, Cress, for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Yay. Thank you.